This is the December the 30th full moon meditation from Olive Pixley's magnet exercises, the golden cord of truth. Truth is a condition of receptivity and cannot be mentally acquired. We can reason and think, but only through the heart's intelligence can we receive directly the law of life. We perceive and observe with our brains, but know and receive in our hearts. To become the truth, we must learn how to receive the substance of it. Visualize a golden cord of light coming straight down, penetrating the top of the head at the egoic center and flashing down the spine. It is drawn down and through on an inbreath to the sound of THER, on an outbreath to the sound THER. The ruby ray flashes forwards and backwards through the throat. At the same time, the heart of the soul body, which is a circle between the breasts, is filled with crystal light. It does not radiate, but is like a deep, silent pool. From the solar plexus radiates forwards an emerald green ray, and from the lower part of the body, a bluebell coloured ray. Thus, on the in-breath, we draw truth into the secret and hidden parts of our being, and on an out-breath, we give out the beauty we have received. It comes in vertically and rays out horizontally through the vital centres. The throat is the sound centre, the heart the indwelling silence, the solar plexus the centre of nervous energy, and the last and lowest of physical creative energy. To be able to receive truth fearlessly and with no effort is a new experience. The result must be a new race, peopling a new world. On an in-breath, visualize the golden cord of light coming into you. As you breathe out, the centers automatically radiate, except the heart, which simply fills with the crystal light. The throat will flash red, the solar plexus green, and the organs blue, because they draw individually what they need from the golden cord. The brain has no power to control the light. It merely observes its functioning. Truth is a rare and precious substance which can be received not only into our minds but into our bodies and transmitted by them to everyone with whom we come into contact. The world's need of truth today is immense, but we cannot transmit it until we understand clearly that it is not an intellectual conception to be handed out in words, but a radiation of the heart and blood. "What is truth?" said Pilate, and expected Jesus to give some wise verbal answer. But Jesus made no answer. He did not talk about truth. He stood there and embodied it, not attempting to put it on the mental plane, because he manifested and radiated it throughout his being. Pilate knew well enough by experience that man's mind can gamble endlessly with the half-truths which are all we can ever know on the mental wavelength. On this plane, war and all destructive conditions are generated. In real truth, there is no element of destruction or of gambling, chance or luck. It is a condition of utter stability, integration and peace, which may proceed effortlessly from every human being who will tune in to the perfect truth which radiates from the heart of God, through the heart of Christ, to all who are willing to receive it. Such truth as this we need, not in the brain, but in the very core of our physical personality. It should govern our inward parts and make us able to get true discernment of the needs of other people and of the world. We have to learn how to draw into ourselves the essence of this substance of truth which proceeds from the body of God, through the body of Christ, into our individual body. It is a condition which comes right down the trunk where the organs are. The contact is made in this exercise of the golden cord. The ray that comes in on your in-breath goes right down through the head into the marrow of the spine and vertebra, nourishing the whole of the bony substance. I was once made to see a perfect skeleton as it should exist in us. It was very lovely and looked like plastic silver, and in no way like the brittle, dead-looking stuff we at present have as bones. Our bones have lost their pristine loveliness because of the lack of life and vital substances in the marrow. But on the cord of truth, this loveliness will come again down into the spine and will illuminate all the secret parts of our body. These parts are in a very particular need of illumination, for in most of us all, the emotional conditions of the creative functions are off the wavelength of truth and quite out of alignment. In the pelvic region, the cord of truth rays out as a ray of hyacinth blue and can resolve all that is untrue and out of balance there, creating instead the harmony of all our emotional life. The blue ray has in itself every capacity to create, and we should use it to create the peace of the world. If we could get a great ray of creative energy functioning selflessly through 100,000 bodies, we could do much towards the peace of the world. At the solar plexus, where joy is situated, the cord of truth gives out an emerald green ray, and we may have a steady radiation, as of bubbles of joy, through doing this exercise. Between the breasts is the crystal heart of silence. This heart of the soul body is a lovely pool of silence, which is absorbent and holds the light. This light does not radiate like the others, but fills up and becomes, as it were, a disk of crystal light whose essence is silence. It is akin to that silence into which all of us have to enter in the next world in order that we may know ourselves as we really are. This experience is normally delayed until the next world, but by the technique we can bring it down to earth and incorporate the silence into ourselves here, so that we shall cut out this after-death happening, because we already are the law of truth. The cord of truth radiates again at the throat, where it flashes out as a ruby ray. If we are silently drawing this light into ourselves, it must go out of us again as truth, and we need never worry about the words we are to say. You cannot receive anything less than the whole truth when you ask Christ himself for it. If you draw your truth from such suburb and do not reach his abode, you will get only as much as that suburb has to offer. But if you go direct to him, you will receive the truth direct from his radiation, the radiation of his body and blood. You will never get pure truth by or from your own mind. We have also no ability to interpret truth properly, and here again we fail. Possibly our minds receive the true pattern, but we chew it over and over and give only a mental interpretation of what we have received. That is how all half-truths are transmitted to the world. We cannot deny them outright because they are partly true. Neither can we entirely believe because we know they are not the whole. I can only tell you that after this exercise, if you will be faithful to it, you will have certainty because you will receive truth whereas it was designed to be, and that is in your body. You will no longer worry because you will no longer receive it into your brain, but directly on the physical plane. You will never get truth into matter if you try to get it on the astral mental plane. When you can bring that which is invisible and intangible into the region of touching and feeling with the material self, and not just into cerebral comprehension, then it becomes a true and essential condition of your being, and such truth also will free you from fear. Where there is fear, beware. There too will be half-truth only. Perfect love casts out fear, and perfect love must function as a unit of substance, the invisible being brought into visibility. Do not be satisfied with the ability to tune into light and merely to visualize without a physical sensation. When you know a truth in your heart's blood and feel a reaction in your own well-being, then it is indeed true. We do not, however, get down to this stark reality of definite experience, but continue our reaction on the mental plane, hoping to bring a mental experience into reality. This we cannot and never shall be able to do. The only way is through the experience of Jesus. We cannot do it either through our own willpower. Jesus never did it through his will, but through the will of the Father, and the will of the Father is never an imposition of power, but the gift of unity. His will is a great radiation pouring down onto the world, which should seep into every person and illuminate him with the vividness of truth. His will desires that our bodies should radiantly transmit health and joy. His will is the substance of love coming into the individual and radiating out again in a manifestation of beauty. It is, nevertheless, an effort for us to get real integrity, and we often do not get it in spite of all our efforts. This is because the heart functions independently of the brain. With the brain we do not and cannot control the heart, which functions always as the dominating factor. If you ask what is meant by the heart, I feel I can only say that it gives you experience which cannot be induced by the mind, and cannot know till you have been through it. The chord of truth, practiced without fear or reserve, will bring this new experience and the certainty of love. The mind never makes us certain of love. The mind needs constant reassurance in words, and when we find that what people say is not what they really feel in their hearts, then we are hurt or afraid. In a true condition of the heart, there is no fear, and our own hearts are not functioning properly when we have fear or when we put ourselves first. It is the cosmic breath which first makes us aware of the heart, and it is the heart of silence which will enable us to know ourselves as we really are. There is no good in us except what we receive from truth and love, and this we must give out, as Christ gave out creative energy in body wherever he went. Wherever we create discord by our fear, our selfishness, or our hardness, we must deny ourselves to ourselves. This exercise changes our capacity with no effort and will eliminate fear, for you cannot draw truth and still be afraid. But it is no good separating the spiritual from the material as so many of us do. We do not bother about our bodies, but it is for us to see that they radiate to others, not disease and fear, but health and confidence. We all know people whose actual presence radiates confidence, or maybe the very sound of their voice. It is because we sense true experience in such individuals that we feel the confidence which they create, and we must receive this true experience into our physical being. This is the very essence of the new covenant. I will write my laws in their hearts, and in their inward parts, has to become a literal truth. This process is needed now more than ever before in the history of the world. Conditions are so appalling that if we look at them, we must inevitably despair. But if we look at truth, which is more alive and more vital and powerful than evil, we shall have confidence ourselves and transmit it to others. We shall be taught by sound and substance, take on the body of Christ, and learn by living experience. Plans made by the mind all over the world are bound to fail, but we, Christian initiates, can receive new energy into our very bodies and thus change the world. Our individual bodies are indeed the only substance and material God has with which to make a new heaven on earth. It rests with them. Every spring he makes a new world in nature, but the human body returns life after life with the same disintegrating substance. It is up to us to change it. Do not concern yourself with your neighbours or the disintegrating conditions around you, but change your own substance and yourself. This is the way of Gethsemane. Christ did not try to change others, but in Gethsemane he surrendered himself, and all must do this individually. Then we shall realize the beauty of this radiation. Through the throat we shall have true laughter and appreciation. In the crystal heart, deep and abiding silence. Through the solar plexus, steady radiation of joy, and throughout the body, balanced emotions. Do this exercise at any time of day and as often as you like, but do not do it upon other people. It is for the individual self.